Metaphors Made Easy. Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to embark on a magical journey into the world of metaphors. Are you ready to add some sparkle to your English conversations?
Yes.
Great. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is a metaphor? Well, imagine this when we say something is like another thing. Without using the words like or as, we're using a metaphor.
Wait, so you mean when I say her eyes are sparkling diamonds, that's a metaphor?
Absolutely, you got it. Her eyes are sparkling diamonds means her eyes shine and sparkle, just like diamonds. Instead of outright saying, she has shiny eyes, we use a metaphor to add more depth and beauty to our words.
So, metaphors make our language more interesting?
Exactly. Metaphors are like secret portals to an imaginative and expressive world. They allow us to paint vivid pictures with words, making our conversations more engaging and memorable. Now, let's try creating our own metaphors.
How about, his laughter is a symphony of joy?
I love it! It means his laughter is so happy and musical, like a symphony. Let's write that down.
I'm loving all these creative metaphors. Remember, the key is to think about how one thing is like something else and describe it in a unique and interesting way. Now that you've become metaphor masters, it's important to see how metaphors are used in everyday language, literature, and even poetry. Shall we explore?
Yes!
Metaphors can be found in countless books. Let's see if we can find some prime examples.
The road to success is always under construction. That's a metaphor for life's journey, isn't it?
Well done, Nick. That's a fantastic metaphor that uses the concept of a road under construction to represent our journey toward success. Metaphors give writers and poets an artistic way to express complex ideas.
The moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. That's so poetic.
Brilliant find, Chloe. It's a perfect example of how metaphors are used to create beautiful and memorable imagery in poetry. Can you picture the moon sailing across the sky as a ghost ship? So, my talented language artists, I hope you now understand how metaphors add depth and richness to our communication. Remember, next time you're writing a story, poem, or even having a conversation, don't be afraid to sprinkle in some metaphors.
I can't wait to start using metaphors in my writing.
I'm thrilled to hear that. Metaphors help us connect with others in a uniquely imaginative way. So keep exploring and creating, and who knows, you might just become the next metaphor maestro. Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to continue our magical journey into the world of metaphors. Are you ready to take your metaphor game to the next level?
Yes!
Great. So we've already learned what a metaphor is and how they can add sparkle to our language. Now, let's dive deeper and explore the 4 types of metaphors.
What are the 4 types of metaphors?
The first type is an implied metaphor. This type of metaphor doesn't directly state that one thing is another. Instead, it implies the comparison by using figurative language. For example, her words were honey implies that her words were sweet and pleasing, just like honey.
I get it. What's the second type?
The second type is an extended metaphor. This type of metaphor is used throughout a piece of writing or speech to create a theme or mood. For example, in Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, he uses the metaphor of the American dream to sustain the theme of equality and justice.
That's really powerful. What's the third type?
The third type is a dead metaphor. This type of metaphor has been used so often that it has lost its figurative meaning and is now used as a common expression. For example, turn a blind eye is a dead metaphor because it's used so often that most people don't think of the literal meaning of the words.
I've heard that expression before. What's the fourth type?
The fourth type is mixed metaphors. This type of metaphor combines two or more metaphors that don't fit together logically. For example, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it is a mixed metaphor because it combines the metaphor of burning a bridge with the metaphor of crossing a bridge.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a mixed metaphor.
It's okay, mixed metaphors can be tricky. That's why it's important to be mindful of the metaphors we use and make sure they fit together logically. We should avoid mixed metaphors. They sound funny.
So, now that we know the 4 types of metaphors, how can we use them in our writing?
Great question. Understanding the different types of metaphors can help us choose the right one for the message we want to convey. For example, if we want to sustain a theme throughout our writing, we can use an extended metaphor. If we want to add some figurative language without being too obvious, we can use an implied metaphor. And if we want to create a powerful image, we can use a well-crafted metaphor that fits together logically.
I see. So, it's all about choosing the right metaphor for the right situation.
Exactly. Metaphors are incredibly versatile and can add depth and beauty to our language. The more we understand about them, the more we can use them to our advantage.
I used an implied metaphor in my story and it made it so much more interesting. I wrote, the city was a canvas, and the graffiti was the artist's masterpiece. It implies that the city is like a blank canvas, and the graffiti is like a work of art.
I used an extended metaphor in my poem and it really helped create a mood. I wrote, the sea was a restless beast, its waves crashing against the shore like thunder. Throughout the poem, I used the metaphor of the sea as a beast to sustain the theme of the power and unpredictability of nature.
Excellent examples, students. The first example is an implied metaphor because it doesn't directly state that the city is like a canvas, but it implies the comparison through figurative language. The second example is an extended metaphor because it's used throughout the poem to create a theme and mood. Both are great examples of how metaphors can add depth and beauty to our writing.
Can we practice creating our own metaphors?
Absolutely. Let's get those creative juices flowing. So, now that you know what a metaphor is and how it works, it's time for you to get creative. We want to hear from you. Think of a metaphor that you love or that you've heard before. It can be funny, serious, or anything in between. Write it down in the comments below, and let's see what you come up with. And if you have any questions about metaphors, feel free to ask. Our team of experts will be happy to answer them. We can't wait to see what you come up with. Thanks for watching.